Have you ever noticed that sometimes what ruins a relationship, a career, or even the direction of your life isn't bad luck? It's just those few seconds when your emotions take over. Have you ever come home late, completely exhausted after a long day, only to find your child still playing games, or your partner scrolling on their phone? You feel the anger rise instantly. Words fly out before you can stop them, and the room freezes into silence. Or maybe you're driving and someone suddenly cuts you off. You know you should just let it go, but the urge to defend your pride takes over. You roll down the window, you yell, and for a few seconds, you forget who you wanted to be. Or picture yourself before an important interview or exam. You've prepared for weeks, but the moment it starts, your hands shake, your heartbeat races, your mind goes blank. Everything you studied disappears behind panic. Why does this keep happening? We can plan our work, our finances, our routines, yet when emotions arrive, logic vanishes. Why is it that some people can stay calm while others collapse under the smallest spark? Why, no matter how much we tell ourselves to calm down, our emotions always seem to win? We think we're steering our lives, but often it's our emotions that are holding the wheel. And what we call emotional intelligence, it isn't about charm or social polish. It's about whether, in the moment of chaos, you can see yourself, understand yourself, and guide yourself. That's what we're exploring today. How to truly control your emotions, instead of being controlled by them. When people hear emotional intelligence, they often imagine someone charming, smooth in conversation, socially graceful, always composed. But psychology defines it differently. True emotional intelligence is not about pleasing others. It's about being at peace with yourself. Emotionally intelligent people aren't emotionless. They still get angry, anxious, and hurt. The difference is they don't drown in those feelings. They can pause, breathe, and respond instead of react. Emotional intelligence is the art of understanding emotions, not denying them. Research shows that about 20% of life success comes from IQ, while the other 80% is linked to emotional factors, self-awareness, empathy, and self-regulation. If you can't manage your emotions, they will manage you. But when you learn to understand them, life becomes a little less chaotic and a lot more clear. There's a concept in psychology called the amygdala hijack. When you're triggered, the emotional part of your brain, the amygdala, takes control before your rational mind can act. This response comes from ancient times. When our ancestors faced danger, wild animals, enemies, starvation, they didn't have time to think. They had to react instantly, fight or run. Back then, emotions were survival tools. Anger gave courage. Fear sharpened awareness. Anxiety kept you alert. But now the threats are different. They come as criticism from your boss, rejection from a partner, or a stranger's words online. Yet, your brain doesn't know the difference. It still treats every emotional discomfort as a life or death emergency. So, you overreact to a comment, you defend yourself when no one's attacking, you replay small mistakes for hours because your mind believes you're under threat. It's not weakness, it's evolution. You're running modern life on Stone Age software. The key is to recognize this pattern, to know it's not that I'm broken, my brain is just protecting me. Once you see that, you're no longer helpless. You can start to take the wheel back. The first step in mastering emotion is not control, it's awareness. Most people, when emotions hit, are fully consumed by them. They become anger, become fear, become sadness. But awareness creates distance. When you say to yourself, "I'm feeling angry right now," or "I'm feeling anxious," you're no longer the emotion itself. You're the observer, watching what's happening inside you. Psychologists call this affect labeling. When we name emotions with words, the rational brain reactivates, and the emotional intensity drops. At first, you'll only notice it afterwards. "I shouldn't have yelled. I was so nervous I couldn't think." That's okay. Even realizing it later is progress. Over time, you'll start catching emotions sooner, right before they take over. And one day, you'll hear that quiet inner voice say, "I'm about to lose control." That moment is freedom. It's not about avoiding emotion. It's about seeing it clearly enough to choose your response. Emotions don't come from events. They come from how we interpret events. Take this example. Your boss sends a late-night message. "We need to talk tomorrow." One person panics. "I must have done something wrong." Another stays calm. Maybe it's just an update. Same message, two completely different emotions. Psychologists call this cognitive reappraisal, the practice of reframing how we see things. When a wave of emotion hits, ask yourself, 1. What story am I telling myself right now? 2. Is this story 100% true? 3. If my best friend were in my place, how would I explain it to them? Emotions are not facts. They're responses to the stories we create. And when you change the story, the feeling changes too. You can't always control what happens, but you can always choose how to interpret what happens. That's where real power lies. Understanding emotion is only half the journey. The next step is learning what to do in the moment. Tool 1. Pause. When you feel the rush of emotion, stop. Take 3 deep breaths. Drink a sip of water. Step outside the room, or simply say, "I need a minute." Those few seconds give your rational brain a chance to return. You interrupt the emotional loop before it spirals. Tool 2. Redirect. Shift your focus. Go for a walk, do the dishes, listen to music, or just sit quietly. Physical movement resets the mind. You're not avoiding the problem. You're cooling the storm so you can see the road again. Tool 3. Delay gratification. Every emotion wants you to act now, to yell, to argue, to escape. But waiting, even for a short while, is emotional strength. The famous Stanford marshmallow experiment found that children who could wait for a second treat grew up to be more confident, focused, and resilient. They weren't less emotional, they just learned how to coexist with impulse. To delay gratification is not repression. It's saying gently to your emotion, "I hear you, but let's wait." And in that wait, you reclaim control. Emotional mastery isn't just for yourself. It shapes every relationship you have. A family ruled by anger is full of shouting, blame, and silence. But a family that practices awareness and empathy turns conflict into understanding. Real emotional intelligence isn't about never arguing. It's about arguing without destruction. It's about empathy. Take this example. A 3-year-old insists on bringing a toy to preschool. A parent who simply says no will meet tears and resistance. But one who first understands might say, "You want to bring Mickey because he's like your little brother, right? Let's let him stay home and wait for you tonight." The child smiles, nods, and lets go. Understanding dissolves conflict. Empathy is where connection begins. And at the heart of empathy is sincerity. No manipulation, no performance, just genuine willingness to understand another person's world. When we are sincere, our emotions become bridges, not barriers. The French writer Romain Rolland once said, "There is only one true heroism in the world, to see the world as it is and still to love it. Between seeing clearly and loving anyway, there is a bridge, and that bridge is emotional awareness. We can't control the world, other people, or every circumstance, but we can learn to guide our inner weather. When we can pause instead of explode, understand instead of escape, and feel without being consumed, life doesn't get easier, but it becomes more peaceful. Emotions don't disappear, but they stop being enemies. Anger becomes a signal for boundaries. Anxiety becomes preparation. Sadness becomes tenderness. When you learn to listen to them, you realize they were never here to destroy you, only to teach you how to live. I'm Happy Psychology. May you understand yourself a little deeper and love yourself a little more.